Let's talk about the relative, absolute, and mixed references in Excel. Let's go ahead and type 1 and 2 in here, and then let's select it. And then there's a tiny little square. Let's hover over it, and then let's drag it across. Look, we have these numbers. So what do they mean? It means that in order to create a 5, the formula knew that, or the Excel, it knew that there was 4 before of it. And same thing with the 6 and 7. They're all relative. In order to create a 7, it knows that there's 6 in front of it. In order to create 5, it knows there's 4 before it. Let's do the same thing, doing it vertically. So type 1 and 2 in these cells and use the same idea right here. And then look, you get all these numbers. Well, that's great. Now, that's relative referencing. What about mixed referencing? Let's talk about that now. 1 plus 1, how much is that? It's 2. So let's go ahead and put an equal sign in the cell, because this is how we create a formula. In this formula, I want the value from column K and row 5, and I want to add it to a value from cell located in column L and row 4. And press enter. Well, it's 2, that's correct. And also look, that formula I just created is also showing on the formula bar right in here. And also, if you will hover over this square and drag it like we did before, look what happens. Now it says 2 plus 2 equals 4, 4 plus 3 equals 7, 7 plus 4 equals 11, and so on. That's all right, but what about if we wanted to just simply have 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 1 plus 3 is 4, that kind of setup? Yes, we can do this, but we need to use a mixed reference for this. So to do this, what you need to do is to double click and add a dollar sign here. Dollar sign is what creates absolute reference. Mixed reference means that on the portion of this formula would be absolute and the other portion will be relative. Relative meaning that behaves just like those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. And absolute means that it doesn't change at all. It stays stagnant. No matter how you drag it, it just does not change. So look, we need that with this value. The value is in column K. So if you put a dollar sign in here, and note that you can actually click the F4 button on your keyboard, and then it will just add these dollar signs with you in different places in this for this particular value. So we're going to K because now it means the following. As we're dragging this across, the value in the column K does not change. What does that mean? Let's look at this even in a closer example. So I pressed enter. Now I'm pressing Control and backtick. Backtick button is located right under the escape button and right above the tab button on your keyboard. That's where it should be. But look, as you look at these formulas, it says right here that K5, then it goes to L5, then it goes to M5 and N5, right? And that means the following, that the L5, which is this value here, is being added to M4, which is this value. Then it goes to M5, which is this value, right? M5 is in here. And then it says add what's in N4, and this is what's in N4. But we want to say go to K5, add L4, K5, add M4, K5, add N4, K5, add O4, and so on. Now we just did that. So because we have this dollar sign, it means that it will always keep that K, the value from the column K. And Control and backtick. Now let's drag, let's drag this along. You can drag it over the existing values, that's all right, they will be replaced with the new formulas. And look, now it works. 1 plus 2 is 3, 1 plus 3 is 4, 1 plus 4 is 5, correct. So that does the job as we wanted it. But if you now click on Control backtick, you will see K5, 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 correct. Now it says, I'm going to K5 right here, and I'm adding what's in M4 right here, that's 3. I'm going to K5, and I'm adding what's in O4. That's why it works, because of this dollar sign that keeps this value locked in place, but it only does it for the column K. So moving horizontally, it does not do it if you were to move vertically. So let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and drag it this way and see how it behaves. Well, it behaves exactly like it did before this change in here. All right, it does. So now what we need to do is to apply the same idea as we did up here. So if we look at this column in here, we can see the following: K5, which is the first number, this number, as the colors corresponds to it. Then we can look at the L4. Color corresponds. It shows you this is the second number. Now, if we're dragging it down, we need to make sure that it doesn't change, because remember, we're locking a column in here, which is for horizontal moves. It means that if we drag it, it's not going to switch to M, it's not going to switch to N, it's going to stay at K. But we're not locking this. We're not locking the rows. See? We could, but we're not, because when we drag it down, we want to see the change. We want to see the 2, 3, 4, 5 as we're dragging it down. So same thing in here. If I was to lock the column, it's not going to do anything, because I'm already going to stay in L column when I drag it down. See, this is L column, and I'm dragging it down in L column. But what about if I put a dollar sign in here? I can do this by pressing F4, like I just did. If you lock this row, then it means, okay, when I'm in this row and I'm dragging it down, then I'm always going to be taking it from this row, which is row 4 in column L. Press enter. All right, and then if you drag it, and actually, if you prefer, you can click Control and backtick to see the formulas instead. And look, as I drag it down, look how it changes. Did you see that? It simply changed it to say that now I'm taking K5, which is right in here, and I'm adding L4. All the way down here, same thing. We're going to K9. That's correct. And then we're taking from L4 again, because we locked this row. All right? And now if you drag it all the way across here, you get the numbers, and it's all collective. 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 5 is 13, or 9 plus 6 is 15. Okay? So that's how relative referencing works, and I hope it helps. All right, let's talk about the absolute references in a little bit more vivid example. So let's type 0.16. This represents 16%. Here I'm going to type some numbers, say $123 maybe, and $4,567, $12,345, and one more, $56,789. Okay, I'm just calling it dollars, but these are just regular numbers. Now here, let's type an equal sign, means we are about to create a formula. In this formula, I'm choosing this number, 123, which is in column O, row 16. And then I'm going to say times 16%. Boom. Now I know that 16% of $123 is equal to $19.68. Well, great. What if I grab it in here and I drag it down? Oh, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, it's because it's not an absolute or mixed reference. And this is what we need for this. Why? Because look, if you look at this column, and better yet, look, I'm going to drag it down. I'm dragging it down, and Control and backtick shows us all the formulas. I'm going to widen this a little bit, and look, when you're dragging it down, it says number from O16 here, correct, and then M15. This is M15. That's correct. But if you keep dragging, look, it says number from 017, this number, correct, and then it goes to M16, which is this cell. See, there's nothing here. So we need to tell it, you need to keep grabbing from here all the time. And to do that, all you have to do is to simply double click on this and say, what is it changing when we go down here? Rows are changing. So we are locking the rows from changing with this $sign. This creates a mixed reference now. All right? Mixed reference means that portion of it is absolute and portion is relative. 15, which is the rows that we don't want to change, so we can always get this value, are now absolute value.
But the columns,
which if we go horizontally here, they can still change. Okay? So now we press enter. Okay, we still get our $19, but let's drag it down. And awesome. Now look, for example, 12,345, 16% of that number is 1,975, right? Or your car, 56,789, 16% of that is $9,086.24. So you want to pay off your car as fast as you can. Great. Well, what would happen if I hover over this tiny square and drag it to the right? I get zeros. Oh, interesting. Can we change that? Can we fix something about this? What kind of data will we get? Let's take a look. Double click on that and look. So I have the rows as absolute reference, meaning it's gonna stay at 16 if we're dragging it down. That's what we fixed. But if I put
a $sign in front of the column,
now when we drag it to the sides horizontally, it will no longer change. It will stay at M. In other words, drag it wherever you want. It will always grab from the column M and row 15 because we locked it. Okay? Remember, you can use F4 to do it. Now let's go ahead and spread that change onto the other ones by simply dragging back. And now all of those have the same. See, the $signs are in front of each row and each column. Column M
and row 15.
Always M15, no matter what we do. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and drag it to the side. And we get some numbers. That's awesome. What numbers are these? Well, it says that 16% of $56,789 equals to $9,086. That's a lot. Okay, but then here it says that 1,453 is 16% of 9,086 and so on. 232 is 16% of 1,453. All right? So that's how absolute referencing works, and this is how you can use it. So now you know, and I hope this helps.